Hey everyone, Scott Strode here with BlueChips Global and Post Play Media LLC. Been a while since we've done a video or a podcast, but been a busy month, 6 weeks, whatever, since I've done the last one. So with everything going on, especially with the Hoop Summit, wanted to get on here and just kind of recap everything, go through, the hows, the whys, and the all the little moving parts that go along with this event, and all the details that I can provide, as many as possible. So just wanted to go through with a bunch of that stuff. One of the things that I did wanted to bring up immediately was I've had, with doing the social media commitment announcements for each player. I've asked each player if I didn't know that they had an X account, Twitter account, whatever you want to call it. I did reach out to them, ask them each individually if they had an account, and so I could use it to tag them, correspondingly. And a few reasons for that. Number one, obviously we want to post and announce it. Just give a little added value to the $100 that people pay when they pay the fee to have their son participate. The other thing is, and I think this is the part that people don't understand is, and why this is important, is the other reason I do that is so when coaches, and this will happen a dozen times, probably on August 2nd, and probably another dozen times after that, where a coach will say, "Hey, I liked Johnny Q. Smith that was playing for the gray team at the summit. I've got his information, but does he have an X account?" And I'll immediately say, "Yeah, go to the BlueChips Global page, scroll down until you find him, because they're all there." And so they can go there, immediately follow everybody, anybody that they want. They can follow everybody, and that's the biggest reason I do that. Is just that's a little resource, that's a built-in value for you, the customer, but that's also a nice resource that the coaches can use, and the coaches can go there, find the players that they want to follow, and go from there. Now, there will be we will also have the X accounts attached to each player in the college coaches packet that they receive. Each coach will get a packet that has the full registration information, and we are going to add the X accounts to those individually. So probably should have done that on the registration form, but I didn't. So just a little background on why that's important. It is important for me to get those pictures out there. I do think there's an importance of giving a little bit of context. When you see a player, you see that player graphic. It gives you kind of all their basic information, their school, their height, their position, all those different things, their class, and gives you an idea what they look like, of course, to cross reference with what you see at the summit if you're a college coach. But that's the biggest reason I do that, is not just to promote the kid itself, but it is to promote the kid, but where the coaches have an easy access point to follow any of the players that they want to follow. That's I tell people that, and then light bulb comes on, and they understand why. There's always a method to my madness when I do some of this stuff. So aside from that, that's the biggest thing. And I want to add is, if and this is one of the things I've encountered as well, and kids just don't know, and I don't blame them in particular for not knowing, but they need to know. Parents, if you're listening to this, kids, if you're players, if you're listening, if you intend to get recruited, if you intend to play at the college level, you need an X account. You just do. And I know there's lots of ugly stuff that go along with Twitter and X and everything. But it's if you want to maintain your business, you want to maintain your exposure online, which there is some value to that. You need an X account. That is still for most coaches, most interactions, especially with Division III, Division II, NAIA. Especially if you're an under the radar player, if you're a player that's not getting recruited yet, whatever the case may be, you really need this access point for coaches to be able to follow you, message you, all of those things, to see your highlights. Again, if reach out to me if you need some advice on that. I've got a nice template that lays that all out and shows kids what they need to put in their bio, what their first couple of posts should be, all of those different things. So, yes, if you're asking me if you need an X account, my first question to you is, do you want to get recruited? And not do you want to get recruited? That's really just a piece of it. The question is, do you want to play at the next level? Do you intend to play after high school? And if the answer to either one of those is yes, then yes, you need an X account. But point blank, there's really just no question, no, deliberating that. That's just what it is. So let's get an idea for those of you that don't know what this is going to be. This Hoop Summit. Let's talk about that. This is the third year. The second year that we've sold it out. Amazingly enough, last year we sold it out with 4 classes. This year with just the 27s and 28s, just juniors and seniors. Sold it out, and me being able to bring in Danny Zuchak, who's an assistant at Westminster, very experienced with having showcase type events because he has his own company that does that, and also bring in my partner Isaiah Francis. It is added a tremendous amount of value and really made this whole process much, much better, much smoother, higher quality players. It's going to be a higher quality run event logistically and from a staffing and from a standpoint of who's there working the event. We have a great crew of coaches that are coming in to work this. So what do you need to expect? Of course, the Bridge. We are no longer in Morgantown. We are now having this event at the Bridge in Bridgeport at the Bridge Sports Complex. One of the nicest sports complexes in several hundred miles, not named, aside from the one in Triadelphia. It is an excellent venue for something like this, especially. Wood floors, 6 courts. We're going to use 4 of the courts. Just lots of parking, lots of hotels and restaurants and things like that, very nearby, within a mile, very adjacent, and sits the facility itself sits right outside the town of Bridgeport. So easy accessible off of I-79, very easy to find. It's very easy to find, but when you get there, there will be an admission charge of $5. We are going to do something with that in accordance to those of you that don't know. Floods, massive flooding had hit the Weston Buchanan area. And I feel the need that we need to do something for those folks. So we may just do cash donations, but if we do admission charge, it won't be any more than $5. But all the admission costs, we're gonna give that, everything there. We're gonna give that either admission or just flat donations, or maybe donations of goods that we can ship down there to help people in cleanup and recovery. But we'll put out some more. We're going to put out some more stuff about some more details about this later on once I get all those hammered out. I really need to figure out what the folks down there need first. But so when you arrive at the facility, like I said, there'll be a an admission gate, that parents or just spectators in general. We've had lots of people ask if they can just come watch. So that's pretty cool. But parents, spectators, will have an admission, and like I said, it won't be much. It's not much, $5 at the most, cash. But aside from that, there'll be a player check-in. The players will check in. They'll be confirmed that they're there, and they'll be handed their jersey. So we will have, what will happen is there will be 12 teams, 9 players each. And I know the first question I get is 9 players. That's a lot. How are we going to get everybody playing? Well, let me tell you, if you're going to play for 3 hours and you're going to play short stints of ball games for 3 hours, I don't care if you have 12 players on your team. You're going to be a tired puppy by the end of the day. You're going to be on the floor way more than you probably want to be. I can tell you there isn't a guy that comes off the floor. Last year we had teams up, with upwards of 10 guys on a squad, and they all come off the floor extremely tired. Their shirts are soaking wet, and so yeah, you're going to get lots and lots of time on the floor. We try to get everybody on the floor, very, very equally. The coaches do a really, really good job of that. If you're going to set and keep tabs on the amount of minutes that your kid versus other kids are on there, this is not going to be the place for you. That's just not, I get it. Everybody wants to play equally, but it's impossible. There may be a game where everybody does play equally. There may be a game where, maybe most of the guys play 3 or 4 minutes more than your son. But there also may be a time where they play 3 or 4 minutes more than everybody else. So at the end of the day, it all equals out. It all levels out. And like I said, these are college coaches that are coaching each of these teams. And they will do the best they can because they themselves want to get a really, really good look at everybody on their squad, and let alone everybody else's squad as well. So they are really obligated, in their recruiting to get everybody on the floor as much as equally as possible. So that should not and will not be a concern. So again, back to they'll get their jersey. Their jerseys are different colored T-shirts. They have an emblem on the front, Blue Chips emblem, number on the back, 0 through 9, and then those shirts are theirs to keep. I get that question a lot. I always intend for that. That's again one of the other things that I kind of do as an added value. They get something to take home with them. So they keep the shirts. So at 12 o'clock sharp, this is for the Hoop Summit, the 27th and 28th. At 12 o'clock sharp, they will start warm-ups / skill sessions. At the same time, in the futures, that will be 9 a.m. They will start as well. They will start 9 a.m. sharp. They will start their warm-ups and their skill session for an hour. So both sides, the future side, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. will be skills and warm-ups. 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. on the older session, same thing, skills, warm-ups. Why do the older guys play 3 hours and the younger guys play 2? Because we have 108 guys in the older session. We have 60 in the younger session. So really 2 hours with 60 players is much more exposure, much more floor time than it will be for the older guys. So, we do have a little price cut for that for the younger guys because they can't actually get recruited yet. But that's why we have the differences. So, again, find your jersey. We're going to direct everybody to the correct court. that they will do their warm ups and their skills workouts on. Again, we'll go through that for an hour. Everybody will have a different colored jersey on. There might be a mix of all kinds of different colors on every court, but we're going to split everybody up, most likely by position per each court, and then we will go. For an hour with the skill stuff, and then we will go right into splitting up. We'll take a little break, get a drink. Everybody will find their coach, and then we will go right into the games. Now, here's a little caveat that we're doing much different than we have done before. And I really love this, and this is Coach Zuchak's brainchild. And this is because he's done this before, and he's a believer in it. And after talking to him, I'm a believer in it. So we have always had SSAC officials come in and officiate these games, which was great, and they did a great job. My man Rick Hill up in Morgantown did a great job of staffing those and getting everything scheduled, and I really, really appreciate that. This is absolutely nothing against them. This is just a different caveat that we thought serves the coaches and the players much better. So the coaches, because we will have, more college coaches on hand and more interaction, more exposure doing it this way. So what will happen is each coach, we'll have 3 courts running at the same time. So we'll have 6 coaches, 6 squads on the floor actually playing. There'll be 6 squads that will be off the floor that are playing. So the coaches from the 6 squads that are off will officiate the games that are on, if that makes sense. So we'll have an extra court to spare, court number 5, that we'll have an extra, and will give us a little extra room for the college coaches, but the guys can also go over and stay stretched out, keep warmed up, whatever, on those 2 baskets. But so each game you'll have a coach for each team, obviously, but you also have 2 more college coaches that will be on the floor officiating. So you'll have every game will have 4 college coaches firsthand and interacting with every player. Does this give them a good idea? Always a good way to evaluate? No, but yes and no. But it will allow them to kind of get, really, really down the weeds with each player and being able to evaluate, being able to talk, interact, all of that stuff. So I think it's that's a great change that we've made. And of course, when they're off, they'll be able to take notes and be able to take note of the kids that they saw, what they saw, who they saw, the different things that they liked and they didn't like from each kid. So because those coaches packets will be really detailed into a full list of every kid there, and then each roster will be available in those coaches packets. So those coaches will be able to really get a lot of interaction, and so will the players. The players will get really used to getting instruction in a huddle, on the fly, on the floor, in between games from college coaches. So lots and lots and lots of interaction with college coaches. And that's what we wanted. That's what we're going to get. And I think that's what makes us different, this event different than any other event within several hundred miles of us. So that, we will play those games. And like I said, it'll be 3 hours, short spurts of games is what it'll be. And so it'll be play a game, off a game, short spurts, back on, back off. Sometimes they'll play in a couple in a row, but that just depends on what the schedule bears there. So everybody should be able to play the, exactly equal amount of games. And I don't know what that number is right off the top of my head, but it's several times on the floor. Outside of that it's really simple. I mean, it's very, very simple. The thing that I want to really convey to you, the parent, and the kids, first, first the kids. And I shouldn't have to say this, but I will say this. Um, you need to be attentive, very attentive and coachable. Um, it's one of the things that they're going to give you a plus or minus immediately. How engaged are you in the huddle? Are you taking instruction while you're on the floor? They're not going to ask you to do anything that you can't physically do, but they are going to push you. They're going to ask you to do things that maybe you're not comfortable doing. They're going to ask you, maybe if you're not maybe the best ball handler, they're going to ask you to handle the ball sometimes, because they don't know. They're not going to know. They're going to take the assignments that we give them with point guard, off guards, wings, bigs, and they're going to expect you to play that position. Now, one of the things I will tell you is we are assigning positions per what we believe, based on what what you signed up for and what we know will be your position at the next level. Keep that in mind. Some of your positions, some of you will play a little bit maybe out of what you think you should be, or maybe what you think you are. But I'm not going to take a 6'4" wing and make him a post player, and nothing like that. But there's some of you are going to be asked to do some things that maybe you don't normally do, but hey, that's just part of it, and that's them trying to get a good read on what you can and cannot do. So players, the other thing, show up on time, be attentive to the coach. Don't argue with the referees, because the referees are college coaches. That was a thing we had a problem with a couple individuals last year, and we didn't invite them back. It was just, because they got crossed off everybody's list immediately, and so we're not going to entertain those types. That's just not going to happen, because the coaches didn't want them back, and that this all comes from direct feedback from those college coaches. So and the officials didn't want them back. So anyway, we're not arguing with officials. Cheer your teammates on, high five them, dab them up, whatever you want to do. Be as attentive and as engaged as you can when you're on the bench, as you are when you're on the floor. Other than that, just play hard, put forth max effort, do the things that you can do, do them the most and as fast as you can. If you're a kid that's a slasher and score at the rim, do that. But if you're that guy and you shoot 25% from three, don't shoot threes. Show them what you are really, really good at. If I can give you one piece of advice, do that. Show them the things that you are really, really good at. So a lot of guys, too many times we try to impress them and do things that we can't do. And that will unravel on you in a matter of seconds. So do the things that you can do, and do them well. Do them as fast and as hard as you can, and carry on. Parents, we've never had any problems, but you just never know. And again, for a lot of these kids and a lot of you as parents, there's tons of kids here that I would say well over half of the 108 players that's in the Hoop Summit, well over half are maybe 60 or 70 are considered guys that are going to be recruitable immediately. Now, let me context that. Now, being recruitable immediately doesn't mean they're going to contact you and have a phone call and give you an offer and all that. That means you're going to go on their list to follow up later on with. That's 99% of the kids that'll be here. Now, will there be a kid that gets an offer the day of? It very well could be. There's probably a couple kids that guys are waiting to see in person that they will give. We've had offers in person at this event before. I think both years we've had offers in person before kids left. Um, you know, so it is. Will that happen? Hey, I don't know. That's up to the coaches. I could see it though. I could see it, very strong possibility with a handful of players getting offered before they leave that day. Um, but again, for the most of you, um, you know, it's going to start the recruiting process. And again, that doesn't mean, if you didn't talk to anybody, if no coach talked to you about, a visit or an offer or anything like that, that doesn't mean you're not getting recruited. Okay. So keep that in mind, because what will happen with a lot of these guys, they'll make a list of 12 or 15 guys that they saw there to follow up on later. So here's what I want to tell you is, we've already covered what the kids should be doing. So parents, um, be you can be as loud as you want, you can be as engaged in the games as you want, but it's an audition for some of you as well. If you're arguing calls, or you're yelling over, put my kid in, or you're, stuff like that, or you're going over to the coach and saying, hey, my kid's not really a guard, he's really a this, or he's a that, or like that shit ain't gonna fly. It's just not, that dog ain't gonna hunt. Insert any saying you want in there, that like that. It's just not gonna happen. You're gonna be crossed off the list immediately, because they ain't gonna play that. They just ain't gonna play that. So keep that in mind. Again, come and enjoy it. Cheer, be loud, have fun, enjoy watching, the process. Enjoy watching your kid go through the process, because, and I know this for a fact, for many of you, for most of you, for probably maybe 80 or 90 of the kids that's on this list, even though some of you are very, very high level, this will be the most coaches you've ever seen in a gym at once. For many of you, this will be the first interaction, parents and players. This will be the first interaction that you've had with college coaches. So that's the whole purpose of this, is to get that, to get that started. If it's, if there's something triggered there that the coach wants to pursue. So, like I said, parents, come in, have a blast. You've paid the money for your kid to be there. If you want to blast the referees or the coaches or whatever, go ahead and do it. But what I'm telling you is, if you want to get your kid marked off the recruiting list, faster than anything, then do the things that I said not to do. Because this is much, for some of you, this is going to be a interview and a debut, for the coaches to kind of seek you out, see what you're all about. And, are you a helicopter parent that's going to kind of hover over the kid, hover over the coach, whatever? Or are you just there cheering on the guys, cheering on everybody, or maybe you're quiet, whatever. But this is much this is much for you as it is everybody else. But I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to dampen anybody's fun or anything like that. Be loud, have fun, all that stuff. But kind of mind yourself while you're there. Because there's going to be people watching. So, outside of that, I would encourage players to try to, and I know this might be tough, try to introduce yourself to every coach there, especially if it's a school that you want to go to. That you have interest in, not that you just want to play at, because I get this a lot. We'll have a coach from Fairmont State there, and everybody wants to go to Fairmont State because it's one of the top, it's like the top school. And of course, now we've got a new coach, new coaching staff. Everybody wants to go to Fairmont State, and I get that. I get that, but they can only have 15, 20 guys on their roster. And there's, only 5 or 6 of those going to be from West Virginia. So you need to understand, like, if they don't follow you or they don't, go up and talk to them, and I encourage everybody to interact and introduce themselves. Like I said, we'll have 12 coaches on staff that will be coaching the teams and officiating the games. And then we'll have additional coaches. There'll be additional coaches that's just there to watch. So be mindful of that, and again, parents you shouldn't hesitate to go up, introduce yourself, say, hey, take a look at my kid. He's number, 7 on the gray team. Go out there and take a look at him. He's 6'4". He's, he's going to be a junior. We're interested, and there's nothing wrong with that. Are they going to recruit him? Well, I mean, that's neither here nor there. And that'll remain to be seen, but I would encourage people to really interact with these coaches as much. And it's not going to be a 30-minute conversation, where they want to hear the whole history, their whole basketball history, but or hear the whole stat line from the previous season. But, a nice introduction, and you can go up and introduce yourself. I play here. I'd appreciate it if you'd follow me on Twitter. Here's my handle. Follow me on Twitter. I'd be interested in going to school there. I'd be interested in maybe playing there. So again, I encourage everybody to do that. That's one of the neat things that you can do at this event. And again, that's one of the things that I think sets us apart from nearly everybody else. From several hundred miles, that there's just no other event like this that we can provide this kind of platform. So, other than that, guys, we're hoping for a very smooth and a very competitive day, which we 1,000% look forward to. Isaiah and I are currently working on. Coach Zuchak is working on the coaches packets right now. And getting those ready to distribute to all the coaches that will be there, whether they're working the event or just attending. And then Isaiah and I have already started. We started today, starting to separate out the players into those 12 different squads. So it is, my first glance and looking down through the registration list, and just trying to separate it into teams. This is remarkably higher level talent than what we've had even last year, and it was a pretty good talent level last year. So, that I just, again, I want to stress to everybody, like, this is a recruiting event, and it is a recruiting event. So this is not going to look like rec ball, recreation ball. This is not going to look like travel or AAU ball. This is not going to look like high school ball. It will be games, playing full speed, playing, full tilt, aggressively, all those things. It'll be real games. Don't get me wrong there. But, wins and losses, all that stuff, really none of that stuff is going to matter. We want ones versus ones, twos versus twos, threes versus threes. We want, the highest level guys to play each other as much as possible. We want, the mid-level guys to play each other as much as possible. We want the biggest guys to play against each other as much as possible. We want Gideon Good and Connor Fox and Kirk Akers and all those guys that are in that 6'8" and above range. We want all those guys playing each other. And we want as many looks. It's the more times that those guys get to face each other, the better and better and better it's going to look to those coaches. So that's our angle here. That's what we're aiming for, is to get as many of those looks as possible. There's some really, really high level wings, really, really high level point guards. We want those guys to play each other as many times as possible. And then, like I said, we've got some guys that's kind of in the middle that are just going to get a lot of minutes. a lot of exposure, because a lot of them are guys that just haven't been anywhere that's been able to get eyes on them. So, you know, one of the other things that I really, really take from this event is I get to get really good looks. Me personally, Isaiah will do the same, and so will Coach Zuchak. We'll get to evaluate a bunch of guys, and we'll evaluate guys that we haven't seen in person. So many guys here I've seen in person, and I kind of know what they are, but there's a lot of guys I want to see in person. Um, that I can evaluate. So when, the coach from Kentucky Christian or the coach from, PSU Altoona or whoever it may be calls us up and say, hey, do you know any nice size wings down there that we could take a look at? Or do you know any, post players that aren't getting a lot of looks that we could maybe look at? We'll have a list immediately for them. And most of that derives from this event because I feel like this is the best read I can get on players is at an event like this where we can put like size, like ability guys against each other and do it multiple times. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to this. I hope I'm going to get back on the podcast train here and get that rolling again. Probably once we get to September. I knew July would be a really, really tough month with traveling and vacation, and everybody's, kind of tuned out anyway. But and we've had so much work going on with this Hoop Summit, and so many more events that we've got in development right now. So appreciate you all, everybody that's here listening, whether you're going to be part of the Hoop Summit or not. And for those of you that have registered your player, your son, and you players that are going to be there, God bless you, and I really appreciate it. We try to add as much value to this event as possible, and we try to price it accordingly. Where we're much better priced than what most of the other events are, because you're at the end of the summer, everybody's ran through the gauntlet of AAU. Everybody's been on vacation, and a lot of people don't have a ton of money left in the budget for travel. And and some of you, it's going to cost more to travel, to this event and back than it will, to pay the fee. So, I keep that all in mind when we put this stuff together. So, again, if anybody needs anything in relation to this event, please let me know, let Isaiah know, reach us. You can reach us various ways, email. Most of you have my text. You can text me on my phone. Our information's all over the flyers, all that stuff. So, again, look forward to meeting everybody that'll be new, at the event. And, it's going to be a great day. And, we're looking forward to it. So thank you all, and we'll talk again.